once again. We're doing the components. We're introducing components, okay? Components. We want our apps to be composed of components, okay? So on line 15, our React is complaining. It's saying, hey, this state is undefined. That's because a functional component has no access to state. It has no access to this. But what does it have access to? It has access to props. Okay? So we're going to say, hey, we're going to say props dot what? Is it computer choice? No, it's going to be choice. It's going to be choice because we're going to pass in the choice through the props. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So for example, on our choice card, what can we pass here? Choice. And then what's the first one we're going to do? This dot state dot choice. Okay? If I save it and refresh, we get another complaint. Why? Because the same principle, right? There's no such thing as this inside of a functional component. Okay? So we can look at props.choice. Okay? We save, we refresh. Okay, so our error went away. But what is the problem here? This is a computer, right? So we also need computer on line 14 to change. So we're going to change this to props.choice. Save it, refresh it, click, and we got it to work. We didn't break it. Okay? So now the step becomes, just copy this one down here. So what are we going to pass in?
Computer choice?
Yes, computer choice, exactly. You save it, refresh it, now we see 2. And if we click it, exactly the same, right? So the objective here is to minify the amount of code that we have, okay? The less code that we type, the less bugs that we have, the less things we have to think about, okay? So basically, we repeated this code in a new functional component, right here. That's all we did, okay? We broke it out, we separated it, okay? And we simplified it. So now you can see the same thing happens. So how does our choice card work? It is simply a component that we defined. All components are a function. They take arguments. What are their arguments called? Props. It's always going to be called props. Okay? The data that we pass to our components is going to be right here. And it's going to be called props. Okay?
So it's called just with return and then.
So if it's a functional component, we can just return. Obviously, we can do more, right? If we can say if choice is equal to rock, I don't know, return, you know, something. It's just so much more complicated we can get, but I don't want to make it complicated. Okay, I want to keep this simple right now. The reason why I'm showing you this right now is I need you guys to understand how to define functions, okay, or define components. And we're going to be defining a lot of components, right? And what was the objective here? Why did we define a new component, guys?
To avoid repeating the code.
Exactly. Defining a component is just like defining a function. We want this code to repeat multiple times. Because right now we only have 2 cards, right? But imagine if we have an app where our components are a list of things like this, right? And obviously this component right now, our app component, is very simple. It's a very simple component. But as our applications grow in complexity, then these components will get much, much larger. And we're gonna have many other functions. Right now, I did everything inside of one function because right now I just want you guys to understand state and that we can change state and that when our state changes, it can change other pieces of state, right? Isn't that what happened? Our user makes a choice, right? We compare that choice to a random computer choice, and based off of that, what other piece of state is changed? The outcome, right? So really, the user can only update one piece of state. They can only update the state of rock, paper, or scissors. They can only update their one choice. But that piece of state that the user updated actually affected other pieces of state, right? If you think about it. So it's like, for example, right? What if Lloyd's piece of state is like Lloyd wants to live in America? Let's just say, right? Lloyd changes his state to wants to live in America to is living in America. What other piece of state changes? That's one. For another, but we can also affect state in other places. So, for example, Coder School's number of teachers decreases by 1. Right? If Lloyd chooses his state changes to it lives in America, Coder School's state changes to 1 less instructor. Right? So this is a very abstract concept. I know this is so fucking abstract, okay? But the idea here is that like when we affect our state, when we change our state, the outcome of our program is different. Just like if we change the values that we pass to our functions, the outcome of our function is different. Okay, is that clear, everyone?
I mean, like even a like button could be a component.
Exactly.
Beyond different things, and then that would update like your user component.
Exactly, man.
Number likes goes up. I see.
It's gonna get much more complicated than this, okay? I don't know. I'm not trying to scare you guys when I say that. I'm just trying to say that, like, I promise you, like, this right here is a simplified example. But it's kind of fun, right? We're thinking, we're solving puzzles every day. It's kind of fun, right? Okay, so that's a review of what we've done the last 2 days.